Hi, time for NSX Configuration 101. We'll configure a couple of virtual switches, we'll configure a distributed logical router, and we'll configure a virtual load balancer. We will also do some microsegmentation to show the really powerful security features of NSX. Remember that there is a physical layer 3 network that is used to transport packets between the physical servers. The beauty with this solution is that no configuration has to be done on the switches, as they only serve as a so-called underlay, and all the intelligence in the network is handled by NSX. Let's configure the switches. The switches, distributed logical router, and microsegmentation feature are hypervisor kernel modules on all applicable ESX hosts. This is a very big difference from any other SDN solution. As you see, each virtual switch automatically receives a VXLAN tag starting with 5000, so L2 segments can immediately start communicating over the pre-configured layer 3 network. The next step is to connect the virtual servers to the virtual switches. As you have probably guessed, the web servers are connected to the web switch and the app servers to the app switch. Once we have connected the servers to the switches, we'll connect the switches to the distributed logical routers. Okay, let's configure a DLR so we connect the switches to each other. We call the distributed logical router DLR, give it a host name, and we will enable high availability, which means that 2 VMs are created for redundancy. We'll enable SSH access. We'll configure the data store resource pools for the VMs. Now we have to connect the interfaces, and we will connect the DLR to the distributed port group management, and now we'll connect it to the infrastructure switch. We'll configure subnets. And this is type internal because it's a downlink interface. And we'll connect it to the web switch. And the same thing here, we'll configure the subnet, and we'll do the same thing for the app switch. When this is finished, 2 VMs will be created, called DLR0 and DLR1. It takes a little bit of time, maybe a minute or two, so I've cut a little bit of information in the video, but that's basically all I've cut. So what I'm doing here doesn't take any longer time for you. We'll configure a gateway IP address. It will not be used in this test case, but it has to be there anyway. Okay, we have a DLR. So now we can route between the subnets. I will not show that. I'll disable the firewall. Okay, almost 5 minutes has passed. We've configured a couple of switches, a distributed logical router, and now it's time to configure the load balancer. Load balancer, we do the same thing. Allow SSH access and give the password. And here we choose the size of the appliance. It can be increased later, but you have to make a choice when you start. Same thing as always with the VMs. You choose a resource pool, data store host, and folder if you want to do that. Same thing as for the DLR. We choose interfaces. There is a small difference here. Is that we don't have an uplink switch. It's just the distributed port group. IP address and net mask. For redundancy, you could of course have a secondary IP and have a load balancer pair working together. And now we'll connect the load balancer to the web switch because we'll do load balancing for the web servers. Same thing here. Configure the IP address and subnet mask. And of course, the compulsory gateway IP address. Configure an allow all on the firewall of the DLR as we did, or of the load balancer as we did for the DLR. And now we'll disable the firewall. We enable the load balancer. And now we'll configure an application profile, which basically is a way to be able to configure new load balancers faster with some default information. And now we will configure the web server pool and all the web servers that will be included. And we'll monitor them with HTTP probes. We add the members, and that will be 192. Well, at the picture we'll see the green ones. And we'll just use port 80, but as it's only an example, we'll use that, but you can of course use other ports as well. And now we have 4 web servers, and the next step is then of course to configure the web virtual IP address that you will address for the HTTP requests. connect the web pool to the web VIP to the virtual server, and we're done. So now it's time to just show that it works. We'll connect to the virtual server, and it didn't work because I didn't have a route back to the network where the client is. So I add the route, and this next hop is on the physical server, physical router, and it is outside, so it will connect on the uplink. Now we have the static route, and we'll see if it works. You see web server 01, 04, 01, 2, 3, and 4. It is working. Okay, last but not least, microsegmentation. Really nice feature, as I said before, with the NSX. And I will do so that I will work with security tags and security groups. And I will have security tags called Zone 1, Zone 2, and Zone 3. And then I will basically say that based on certain rules, only traffic involving these zones are allowed. I will attach the web servers directly or put a security tag on the web servers that I want to have. And you see that for zone 1 it's web server 1, and for zone 2 I add web server 2 and 4. At the later stage I will add web server 3 to zone 3. Now we go into the service composer, and this, with the service composer we attach these machines with certain security tags to the security groups, and we'll do a dynamic membership, and I'll say that machines tagged with zone 1 will be attached to security group 1, or security group called zone 1. And now I will say that all machines connected to the app switch will be attached to security group zone 1. So you see here that we have 3 virtual machines in zone 1. We'll do the same for zone 2 and a little bit later with zone 3. Okay, before we create zone 3, we start to play with the firewall rules. And what we do here is that we specify that all traffic will be blocked. And at this point, no traffic between any VMs is allowed, except certain services like DHCP. And we'll add some rules. We use a security group, traffic to a specific security group. So now we have traffic to zone 2. I won't go there and start testing. We'll do all the tests at a later stage. We add a rule also for zone 1. Now we limit a little bit further, so we'll only allow port 80 to zone 2. You see there, DLR 0 and 1, and we have a load balancer as well. And now we add a security tag. Zone 3 to web server 3. We add a firewall rule for that as well. So the dynamic membership. So we add machines or anything with a security tag zone 3 to the security group. And we'll finish. We update the firewall rules. And we say that anything with source zone 3, which in this case is web server 03, as you see there, is allowed to communicate with anything. So now zone 3 is allowed to connect to anything, and all the rules are set. From now on, it's really only so that I will prove that what I did is working. I'll go to the different machines. We'll do some pings. We are on web server 3. You'll see that we're allowed to ping to anything. These are on the same networks. And just to show that HTTP is working as well, we'll connect to the different machines. I will continue proving that the microsegmentation works as I have configured it, but you have seen also the DLR, you have seen the switch configuration, you have seen VXLAN, but this is only a very brief 101 introduction. There are so many more microsegmentation capabilities within NSX, and you can do very, very much. So I hope you like this teaser, and just contact me if you want more information.